This is the Absolute Business Mindset podcast, created and hosted by Mark Hayward. I'm a corporate employee with an entrepreneurial mindset. This podcast will help and support you with new ideas about business. These are my thoughts, ideas, and comments. Today we have Sonya Morton-Firth, who we're going to talk about her career in sales and in corporate, and then some businesses and her show, which we're going to talk about. So hello, Sonya, how are you?
I'm good, Mark. How are you? It's nice being on the other end for a change.
Yes. So as I said, you've got the Sonya Morton-Firth show, haven't you? So that's going well.
It's going really well. Thank you, Mark. And I only started it a few months ago. I think when we met, we were just saying when we met back, I think it was in the summer, and I launched it in July. And I'm putting out basically an interview one a week. Every Monday goes live. And I've got to say, it's going amazingly well. I'm loving it.
Fantastic.
And most of all, I'm loving the guests that I've got on my show. They're real inspirations.
And the guests are so important. So thank you very much for being my guest on my podcast.
Oh, my pleasure.
Okay, so we're going to talk about your career, your journey, how you've got to, which is now your Sonya Morton-Firth show. But I'm going to take you all the way back to your degree. And I know this sometimes makes people feel uncomfortable, but I'm still going to...
A long time ago, Mark.
So you did a degree in modern languages in Spanish, French, Italian, politics and economics.
Yes, absolutely.
So what attracted you?
Well researched.
So what attracted you to such a varied subject?
Well, I guess when I was deciding what to do, I always loved traveling and communication. Those are the two main things. And one of my best friends at school, her mother was our Spanish teacher. Right. And we used to go on multiple exchanges to Malaga and had a great time. And I just fell in love with different cultures and with people. Yep. And I loved the Spanish language, loved the French language. And I wanted to travel. And that's why, I went for the modern language degree. I wasn't really quite sure what I wanted to do with it. I always knew I didn't want to be a teacher, because a lot of people say, well, with languages, do you want to be a language teacher or translator or interpreter? Yep. And I didn't want to go down the academic route, but I thought in some way I could use the languages going forward.
So do you use the languages now?
No. To be brutally honest, no. The most I use them is if I go to Spain, I'll use my Spanish, but it's as I say, it was a very long time ago, and my languages are a bit rusty. Like anything in life, if you don't keep it up, it all becomes a bit rusty, and you've got to practice, and it's all about consistency. And unfortunately, I haven't kept them up. But when I go back to Spain, which is my strongest language, it sort of comes back, especially after a few drinks. Yes.
And so you did politics and economics. So I did a politics degree many years ago. So what was it to get the right credits to do?
No, so the politics and economics was of the country that I was studying. So I did the political system in Spain, the economic system in Spain and in France and in Italy. So it was a modern language degree as opposed to a literature degree. Yeah. So a lot of language degrees, certainly back in the day, were very focused on books, on literature. And I wanted something a little bit more modern. So I chose something that was really going to immerse me in the country and understanding the culture of the people. And of course, the economics and politics touched on all of that. And then you got a real flavor of the history of the country itself.
That's fantastic. So you went into languages, you went into studying languages, which is fantastic. But then your first job was sales, as a sales manager for conferences.
Sales, but it was in sales using my languages, actually. So I was basically phoning into Spain, phoning into France, and selling bums on seats, as you'd like to say. So I was selling a wide range of conferences, everything from management skills to telecoms to data comms to ISDN in those days. Yeah. To all sorts of different things, covering a wide variety of topics, very high-end 3-day courses based in Victoria. And it was fascinating because I got to go on the courses as well. I got to meet the delegates when they came over from the countries and sort of host them at the events.
Yeah.
And as I say, sit on the events as well. So, so it was a great first step into to life in the corporate world.
And so, so you were selling conference seats. So, what did you learn from that? So I'd imagine, like, because we'll talk about your further career in sales and things like that. But was there a bug? Was there a sales bug that you started to itch at this stage?
I think I always knew I was good with people, and selling is all about people. And if you look at sales skills in life, it's one of the most important skill sets that you can get to learn, because everything you do, I mean, you're selling yourself on a daily basis. Even when you meet somebody for the first time, we all make impressions in the first 8 seconds of meeting somebody, and that is the sale in itself. But even just talking to people, and rapport and communication involves sales. Now, sales has evolved very much from when I started out in sales. It was a very hard telephone sales, which I've got to say was the hardest thing in the world. And I look back on those days and think, wow, I did it. I certainly couldn't do it again. I certainly cannot pick up the phone and would not want to pick up the phone again and sell anything. It is the hardest type of selling.
And so, was there techniques that you were taught, or you picked up, or you read about on sales?
Oh, I mean, we were given so much sales training. In fact, I sort of rose the ranks and I became a sales manager, and I had my own team as well that I was managing. But the core thing about sales, and what they probably don't teach you, is it's all about empathy and rapport with a person and building that relationship, because people buy people. It actually doesn't matter what you're selling. If someone likes you and they want to talk to you, then they're more likely to buy it than somebody that they don't have any rapport with. We've all had the situation, I guess, when you're on the phone to a salesperson and you're actually having a really good conversation, and you feel drawn to buying something from them rather than wanting just to put the phone down. And equally, we've all had the bad salesperson that constantly harangues you, and you're just like, look, call me back another time.
So did you aim for a certain type of client, and then if you didn't get a sale, would you move to a different demographic or a different type of client?
We were actually given call sheets. So we had it was like the old-fashioned days before databases. I mean, we were just starting on databases. We were given old-fashioned printout call sheets, and we used to have to literally go through, ring the number, and ring as many people as we could. Put the phone, call them, speak to them, try and get through, because you had to get through switchboard. I mean, we're talking old-fashioned sales here. And it was a numbers game. It was the more people you phoned, the more people answered, the chances of getting a sale were sort of increased.
So some of the stuff I do at the moment in my corporate career is based on consultative sales. So it's about building long-term relationships rather than calling 100 people in a day.
And that's definitely what I moved to. I mean, I was there in my 20s, and then moved to the financial sector and spent most of my career in the financial sector dealing with high-level sales, which was a consultative sale, and it was all about building and getting repeat business from very high-level people from asset management.
So there could be people that are at the moment who are doing some sort of classified sales, or some sort of, as you say, a numbers game sales. How did you move because you moved to S&P? How did you get that job? How did you move over to there?
Tenacity. I didn't have the faintest clue about the finance industry, but what I did know is I wanted more money, and I wanted to climb the ladder, and finance was where it was at. I just did the numbers. I did a lot of research, knew I was good at sales, and knew, if I wanted to get some money in, I had to move over to the finance industry. And as I say, I knew nothing about the finance industry. I did my research, did a lot of reading, managed to get a couple of interviews. Again, based on rapport. I remember having my interview with one of the guys from S&P, and I was meeting him in Sloane Square. And he said, "You'll recognize me because I'll have an FT under my arm." And I think I went up to about 5 guys. You stepped in such, I'm here for the interview. And in those days, you know, it was very different to now, and women probably weren't as it was very much a male. It still is very much a male industry, as you know.
Yeah.
Those days, it was really a male. It was very male dominated. And I remember the guy saying, "Look, I really like you. I think you're going to be absolutely fantastic. But you've got no finance experience. I can teach you that. I can't teach you the sales bit. That's a natural bit. But you're going to have to dumb down the way you look." And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he was like, well, for the next interview, put some glasses on, wear some trousers.
Really?
You know, really, I had to change my image.
Yeah.
Which is astounding, because you couldn't tell her, you know, that's the wrong thing. Of course, it's the wrong thing to tell a woman these days. I absolutely get lost. But I did it, and I got the job. And 16 years later, I was one of the most successful people in the sales department. I mean, I moved from various different sections of the company. And when I left the company, I was on the rating side. It was Standard & Poor's fund ratings. It doesn't exist anymore. But we went in and we rated funds. We rated AAA, AA, single A. So we went into the asset managers. We went in the portfolio. We went into the portfolio manager, and we assessed their skills, the team skills from a qualitative perspective and a quantitative perspective, and gave them a report and a rating, and they could use that in their marketing material. So my job was very much, when I was going in to sort of pitch for this, was, look, what's your marketing like in these various different countries? Because actually the rating can open up the door if you want to sell your funds in Spain, in France, and with the passports, with the fund passports at the time that were happening, the OICs, it meant that a lot of UK fund managers and US fund managers based here wanted to break into those European domestic markets, and they could do that with a rating. So I had to be very experienced in knowing what the German laws were, what the Spanish laws were, what the French laws were, what the Dutch laws were, what the Scandinavian laws were. And I opened up those markets in those various different countries.
So how did you, which is slightly away from sales, how did you perform the qualitative and the quantitative research on each of the companies? Did you go in and ask them the questions, or did you do external research?
I didn't. So we had, my job was sales. So we had a team of analysts that were former portfolio managers themselves, and they went in and they performed the due diligence.
And so from the sales side, you mentioned just a minute ago about that women are not as a natural fit, let's say, or not maybe not natural fit, but it's more that a lot of women, sales is dominated by men, and I just want to explore that sort of from a female perspective.
In the finance industry, it's not in all industries, but in the finance industry, and I'd say still today, because I only left a year ago. I went on and I went to Moody's, but a year ago, up until that point, and of course, when I started back in the 90s, it was a very male-dominated room. I was very often the only woman in a room full of, say, 10 guys and doing a board presentation, because the level of decision-making for the ratings, obviously, a portfolio manager's opening the doors and basically telling the secret source of the company. And we had to go in a very high level. But yes, quite often I was the only woman in the room.
How did that make you feel as a female in the environment? Did you thrive off of it, or?
I did, but I have to say it wasn't easy, and it was literally it was you fought, you had to thrive or die, basically, and the only way to thrive is use your skills as a woman. Now the issue I think with the finance industry is they try and fox you in to say, well, you've got to be this sort of person, particularly for a woman. So you're either climbing the ladder, which I did, and you're known as a bitch that got to the top, quite frankly, and you're hard-nosed, and you've got to forget the fact that you've got emotions, and as a woman we have much more emotions than men. You've got to hide that, because any little sign of vulnerability and you were looked down upon.
So did you find that Just as a sort of just to explore that a little bit further. So, did you find that because we've known each other for 3 or 4 months, 5 months, you've always seemed someone who's quite expressive, quite open, and sort of quite open to talk about things. Did you find that difficult from, let's say, your natural personality to become, I'm not. I don't want to put words into your mouth, but like emotionless or
Yeah.
not to express yourself. Did you find that hard?
Yes, I did, and I think I hid my true personality for a number of years in order to climb the ladder. So
Mm,
I became the very hard-nosed, unemotional career woman that was extremely successful, won 4 President Circle Awards globally. So I was up there ranked in the global level of sales. You know, we were flown to Florida. I was presented awards in Miami, in Dublin, in New York. And yes, to get to that level, I had to become something that, if I look back now, obviously I didn't know it at the time, but when I
yeah,
look
yeah.
back now, it wasn't really the true Sonya Morton-Firth.
Mm. But does that recognition help? Because one of the things that I, as personally, I like in my business is for people to sort of tell me I've done a good job, or recognize me, or if you work hard, you're given that sort of recognition. Did you find you continued there, because you were there for 13 years at S&P? Did you find that you were recognized and that sort of
Yes, yeah. I
drove
mean, I
you
was
on,
very well
because
respected. I was,
financially
as I say,
you were done as well? So
yeah, I was number one in the sales team globally, you know, not just the London sales team, but people knew I was, you know, in terms of the overall sales team, and there was a lot of them because we had sales teams in various different countries for the whole of S&P, not just for my division. I was very, very well, you know, known.
and so what did you enjoy most about that era? Was it the recognition? Was it the challenge? Was it what really drove you to stay there for 13 years, apart from building up on the corporate ladder?
Well, look, I'll be honest. The money kept me there for a long time,
Mm,
and you know, you once you have the money and you know money, that's all we're taught. We're taught, you know, a good successful career means you're earning lots and lots of money, and being in
yeah.
sales itself,
Mm,
you were rewarded by commission. Obviously, I had a basic salary, but the more you sold, the more
mm.
you got given. It was more of a reward. Um, but also, you know, really what kept me there was the variety of my customers. So I traveled a lot, as I said earlier. I set up the businesses in Europe. So
Yep.
I had a small base of clients in the UK, in London, but my remit was to open up these different markets in Europe. And
Right.
then later on, I made a big push to the US. So obviously Standard & Poor's is a big US corporate,
Yep.
but we didn't have any representation for fund ratings over in the US. So I was traveling there, and I just went to my boss one day and said, look, this is a fantastic market. Let me do this market.
Mm.
And he said, well, I will, but really you shouldn't, because obviously we've got sales teams over in the US, and if they get a whiff of the fact that you're going over into their territory,
Yeah.
they're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
But I managed to charm them okay. So I was traveling to New York every 6 weeks. I was traveling across to California. I was traveling to Miami. Those are the main destinations, because we were selling, as I say, the ratings on offshore funds. So I was targeting asset managers that were coming into Europe the other way around, so big US names.
Yeah.
And, you know, I loved it. I loved it for a while. The traveling started to, you know, when you're on a plane, most of the time it becomes quite difficult to have a
Yeah.
life back in London as well.
Yeah.
And I started struggling with that, to the point of I went to my boss and I just said, look, this is amazing. I'm making great inroads. This could be so much bigger if I had a team in New York. We had an office in New York.
Yeah.
So I put a business plan together and I said, get me a white card, let me move to New York and set this team up. And literally 6 months later, and a lot of legal fees, I had a white card in my passport. I packed up my flat in Clapham. I was going to rent it out. and I was having leaving parties left, right, and centre, and I was due to go over and set up a team over in New York and start the business there. And then 2008 happened.
Right.
And S&P were at the centre of the crisis, as you know. And literally 2 weeks before I was leaving, my boss had to bring me into his office, and he was practically in tears himself because he knew how much it meant to me. And he just had to say, so sorry, but we've got to pull the job. We're losing clients here in Europe, big names. We need you here on the ground. You're one of our best salespeople. And the last thing we can do is open another division in New York right now when the crisis has just hit. I mean, S&P was heavily looked at, you know, the regulation.
Yeah.
And there was so much eyes on us that the last thing they could be doing is opening up something that...
Well, because your other teams were assessing the AAA or AA or single, they were making judgments on the businesses that were in the UK and the US and in Europe,
on
I
the
suppose.
funds themselves. So we were taking judgments, or not really a judgment, but we were assessing the fund.
Yeah.
So we didn't have anything to do with the mortgage defaults and the AAA and the AA defaults on those, but because it's all Standard and Poor's and it was the same lettering, obviously it was the same business, and you know, we had every financial body on us. You know, they've made films out of us. I mean, I was in the office. Have you seen The Big Short?
Yes. Yeah.
I was in the office on Water Street, which is in that film. At the time they were, you know, this film was taken. Yeah, we were right in the heart of it, and I witnessed some. It was a time in history. But it was a time in history, unfortunately, that it was just the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah.
But you know what? I look at it now and think it was the best thing that could have happened to me.
Well, so my next question was going to be like, what made you leave? Was it the 2008? Was the credit crunch a big driver to you leaving?
It was a big driver in that was my big dream. You know, this is what I really wanted. I wanted to move to New York. Since I'd started going there a few years ago, I felt my heart was there. You know, I packed up my stuff here. And then, you know, when they made that decision, I obviously said I'd stay, and I led the team to sort of what we called save the clients here in Europe.
Yeah.
But they still were expecting me to get on a plane every 6 weeks and, you know, carry on doing what I was doing before, as well as servicing Europe. So they were getting real blood from me at that point.
Yeah.
And I think over a 6 month period, I was just really reevaluating. Is this really what I want for my life?
Right.
Do they actually really give a shit?
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope you don't mind swearing on your podcast. But the bottom line is they don't give a shit. I'd given 13 years of my life, you know, living with my BlackBerry by my bedside, 2 a.m. in the morning, because I covered the state. I'd be on my BlackBerry. I remember Christmas, I was working on this huge deal over Christmas Day, literally, you know, working on this huge deal right up until that moment, working every single hour.
Yeah.
And in the end of the day, they don't care. You know, I could be lying on my deathbed. Am I going to remember that moment I picked up my BlackBerry at 2 a.m. and answered that email? No, I'm not. And I think, you know, the realization kicked in. It was all started in a holiday. I went to I want to say Antigua. Where did I go? It wasn't Antigua. God, it was the body holiday. I'm trying to remember where it was now. It was in the Caribbean. Okay. And I met a life coach there, and I went in and I had a chat to him, and I was going in for hypnotherapy, something completely different. It was part of the package. There was loads of sport. It was a real sporty holiday, the body holiday.
Yeah.
And we just started chatting, and he said, and he's actually become one of my best friends now. And he said, really, let's sit and talk about this, because you've got so much passion, so much energy. You sure you're doing the right thing in this corporate job? And I said, no, I feel like I've got another life to live. I really don't know if this is me. By the end of this hour session and the end of the holiday, I knew that I was, you know, planning my escape, as I call it. And 6 months later, I handed in my resignation.
Well, first thing, well done for that, because it's a massive thing to give up a corporate career. You've invested a
Massive.
lot of time into it and a lot of money and effort into it. So I would just say, just well done for doing that.
And I wouldn't belittle that decision. I certainly wouldn't sit here and say to anyone, hate your job, just leave. Absolutely not. It's not that easy. There's a lot of things that you need to take into consideration. I mean, first of all, I was walking away from a massive salary, 6-figure plus salary, a huge pension, you know, perks. But not only that, I was walking away from my colleagues that had become my friends. I mean, we had a real community. I mean, we were out drinking nearly every night. Let's face it, we worked in the city.
Yeah.
And they were my life. You know, that was my life. My clients, my colleagues, some of which is still very good friends of mine. But yeah, that was it was what I had. It was what I'd spent, as I say, 13 years working towards.
So you left and you went into a female fitness business. Is that right?
So not quite. So my passion was health and fitness at the time. So I was working out with a personal trainer. As you know, city life isn't exactly the most healthiest thing. And I met my trainer, Steve, a fellow Geordie. If you're watching, Steve, if you're listening, Steve. And he started me on my road actually to running. I became a runner. And I started running 5Ks, then half marathons, and I just became obsessed with running and this health and fitness thing. So I came out and I knew I wanted to do something in health and fitness, but I wasn't sure what it was. I knew that I had a business head. Everyone said, you know, you should be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know how. I just knew I was interested in fitness and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. So I thought the first thing to do is train as a personal trainer, because at least then I know what personal trainers are all about. I can understand what they do. My idea was to set up a network of personal trainers.
Okay.
That was sort of the idea. Anyway, I did my qualification. I started PTing clients. I quickly knew that wasn't the job for me. Love being a client, love having personal training sessions, but I can never be a PT.
Why is that?
It's a very different skill set. You've got to want to be patient, and you know, I can do it, and I was a very good PT, but you know, I need to use a bit more of my mind rather than just looking at the body. I mean, it's connected, but yeah, no, there's something much more that I needed to explore. So I did an entrepreneur's course at CAS University, an entrepreneur venture program, which was amazing. It was a very short program, but I would advise anyone that, you know, would want to go into becoming an entrepreneur. It sort of teaches you everything from marketing through to exit plans, to raising money, to raising finance. It was really educational. It was fantastic. And when I came out, I knew I wanted a business partner, because I'm not a loner, and I wanted to, you know, I'm all about people. And I met a lady who was a senior partner at Linklaters at the time, the big legal firm. And she was looking to come out as well. I didn't know her at all. And she'd had this idea for women's fashion fitness wear. And at the time, there was only Sweaty Betty. Now, I mean, now the market is really saturated. Yeah. But at the time, we're talking back in 2012, it was Sweaty Betty. So what a great idea. And the next 2 years, I immersed myself in learning everything there is to know about the fashion industry, because you've got to know all about fabrics, about cuts, about everything. We did market research. I was more in charge of the sales and marketing side. We were launching an online platform. We had to learn about social media. Of course, it was a different world back then. Yeah. And yeah, we launched our business, and it's funny enough, it's still going. She's still running it. Right. But I came out. I spent a couple of years, and it got to the point where I still didn't feel fulfilled, and we were starting to see different visions of the business. She wanted to go one way, I wanted to go another, and we were at the point where we put all our money into the business. I put all my savings, and you know, I had quite a lot of savings from my job in the city, and I invested it all in this company. Big mistake, by the way. Never do that. always raise investment. Do not use your own money.
Yes.
Big number one. And we
Yeah.
weren't paying ourselves salaries. We made so many mistakes in terms of, you know, how to cause lots of stress when running your own business. And it came to the point where we had investment on the table. We were both very connected women, obviously in the city. And I just had sleepless nights. I knew I couldn't take the money because I didn't really believe in the business. I didn't believe in the vision going forward. So I spoke to my business partner, and a few months of sort of negotiation, she agreed to buy me out. So she bought my shares.
Yeah.
And you know, we parted on amicable terms. As I say, she's still running it. And yes, that was that.
That was another chapter. So what was the difference between the corporate world and running your own business? There's so many differences that I'd imagine you could talk about, but just highlight some of
Where
the
do I
major differences.
start?
Exactly. It's a completely open question.
Everything. I mean, nothing is similar, really. I mean, you've got a good skill set coming with corporate life, so you can write emails. Because I managed a team in my corporate life, managing people, obviously that was a joint skill set. But other than that, you're managing your own time. You know, in corporate life, you get on a train, you commute, you have to show up at 8 o'clock or 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and you leave at a certain time. When you run your own business, you have to be a self-starter. You have to be self-motivated. No one's going to get you out of bed. You have to get yourself out of bed.
Yes.
And no one's paying you a salary certainly at the beginning.
Yeah.
So you have to want it, and you have to truly want it.
Yeah.
It's 10 times tougher than corporate life. You know, corporate life, every month you get a paycheck.
Yeah.
You can take a sick day. You can have a bad day. No one's going to really go mad at you. But you do that in your own business, then you don't have a business, right?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you moved on from there, and so you did. We talked about this before. You did a bodybuilding competitions. Is that right?
So basically, I got. I was still obviously very interested in health and fitness.
Yeah.
And where I was a runner before, and I was still going to the gym. The ambassadors that were wearing our clothes, because we were running a female women's clothing line for gym gear, were all bikini models. Were basically women that physique competitors that got on stage. We didn't want a skinny sort of catwalk model. We needed somebody that looked like they'd gone to the gym. So, because I was on the sales and marketing side of the business, I was going out, I was recruiting these ladies to wear our clothes. We were sending these clothes to these ladies so they could wear it and show them off with the best bodies possible. And I was just in awe and thinking, my God, if they can do it, I want to do it.
Right.
And so when I came out of the business, it was just something I really wanted to do. I started competing. And at the same time, I went to my very first Tony Robbins event.
Right.
I don't know if you've heard of Tony Robbins.
Yeah, I think most people on my channel would have heard of Tony Robbins. Yeah.
And I remember going to UPW, and it's a 4-day. Have you ever done it?
No, I've not actually.
Well, it's a 4-day event. It's in the Excel Centre in London. When it comes to London, it's actually going to be in Birmingham next year.
Yes.
But it's literally like a rock concert on steroids. It wasn't what I was expecting at all. So first of all, I was thinking it was a sit-down seminar. You know, I took my notebook.
Yeah.
I packed, because I was in preparation for my competition. They said there's no food. You know, you've got to take your food with. I've got photos of that. I packed all my Tupperware, 5 years, all nicely packed.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh, you know, I'm going to have breaks to eat all this food, and I'll be home early, and I can get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
None of that. It was full on from the moment you walked into the room of 7,000 people.
Wow.
Going absolutely nuts to Hadaway and other tunes, dancers on the stage, Tony Robbins larger than life. And I was like, what the hell am I up to?
Did you not do any research beforehand?
I had no idea what to expect.
Right.
And it blew me away. Funny enough, I walked out after the first day because I wasn't sure of it. I was a bit like, this isn't what I expected. Felt a bit uneasy about the hypnotism or the some of the things that was going on, and all I knew was I was really hungry and I needed to eat my next meal. But I went back for the rest of the duration, and absolutely loved it. And it changed the track, changed the course of my life. Started me really on my personal development, track path. And I got through that, and I got through my competition as well. But he really gave me the impetus to get on stage in front of loads of people in a bikini and say, "I freaking rock," which was something. It's quite difficult to do.
And so you did all of this, and then you went back to the corporate world. You went to Moody's.
I did.
What was the why? Basically, why?
Why? Two reasons really, and I think everything's about timing in life. And at the time, I was running a small entrepreneurs club. As I said, I was doing my bodybuilding, but I was financially, I wasn't in the greatest place. As I said, I'd spent all my savings already. I'd always stayed in very good contact with all my bosses in my life. I believe in never burning bridges. I've always had very good connections and kept very good connections.
Yep.
And my old boss from S&P had moved to Moody's, and he we kept in touch, and he was taking on a new role there and running a new division, and we met for a drink, and he said, "Look, Sonya, I've got a great opportunity for you. I really would love you to come and work with me in this new role." And it was all about timing. It was just what I needed at that time. And so, I bit the bullet, and I thought, you know what? It's all about divine timing. Opportunities lay themselves in front of you. I believe if something comes in your way, you've got to explore it. And I didn't know for how long I was going to explore it for. To be honest, I was there a lot longer than I probably thought I was going to be. But yes, I went back to the corporate land for a further 2 years.
And then you went to an executive coach. You did a course.
So I came out last year. I came out at the beginning. Gosh, where are we now? I came out April last year, 2018. And I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do, but I knew I needed to leave again. And at the time, I was with somebody else. I was with my partner at the time, and we were going to create a business together and do various different things. And he was helping me in certain areas. Unfortunately, that didn't work out. That relationship didn't work.
Okay.
And so I was left thinking, right, now what? Now what do I do? And I started exploring various ideas. I knew coaching. Obviously, I was surrounded by coaches. I was doing Tony Robbins work. I joined other sort of personal development groups and done some work on myself. And, coaching was calling. And a lot of people said, "Oh, you thought about being a coach?" And actually, with your background, with your corporate background, you could do corporate coaching and actually you could get quite a good wage, or not wage, but charge a good whack. So I did some research, and I did a qualification. Now, first of all, to be a coach, technically you don't need any qualifications. It's an unregulated business, which to my mind is very dangerous, because obviously coaching can really affect somebody. If you're coaching an individual and they're trusting in you, and you don't really have any ability to coach, or you don't know what you're talking about, you can obviously
you do a lot of damage, can't you?
You can do a lot of damage, absolutely. So I knew I wanted to get my qualification, but there are a lot of coaches out there that just call themselves coaches and literally think that they can coach because they can talk to somebody. Which is the true coaching. Isn't you talking to somebody else?
It's them talking to you, isn't it?
Exactly, facilitating what's inside them. Absolutely. So I did the coaching course, which I really enjoyed. And I went to South Africa last year, and I did something called the Breakthrough Experience with Dr. John DeMartini.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
And I've got to say that changed my life. First I did Tony, and then John, and his values, determination values, threw me on another trajectory. And I was really aligned then with my true purpose. Now, I do believe everyone is here. They have a true purpose, and unfortunately it gets buried with all the noise, all the childhood, your family, your expectations that society put on you. Before you know it, you think you should be in a corporate job, 9 to 5, earning lots of money, retiring, and then not knowing what to do and dying. And actually, I honestly believe we've all got something inside us that we're put on this planet to do. And once you can tap into that true purpose, then life truly is beautiful. And it comes from serving. Most things come from serving other people. And if you can go in from that angle, and really John's breakthrough experience, I really saw that and saw what I wanted to do, and that was presenting. And not just presenting, but igniting and basically putting a light under somebody else's message and lighting their message up, inspirational people that weren't leading normal lives.
Okay, let's just take a step back before we go too far into your hosting, etc. I just want to explore something on the sort of executive coaching. So your clients, did you find yourself having sales clients? Did you have corporate clients? Did you have entrepreneurs? What was your angle? What was your ability?
So at first I thought and the natural progression would be for me to go to the corporate world.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously on LinkedIn, I've got loads of thousands of contacts from my corporate career. But I knew that wasn't where I felt my calling. And I tried. I went back into the city a few times and just didn't resonate with me. I didn't want to be put in front of a manager that had been told they needed some coaching to improve their performance. I wanted to be put in front of somebody that wanted to improve the world.
Right.
So I looked at entrepreneurs, and of course I have had an entrepreneurial life, and that's where I really felt my true calling. I wanted to help entrepreneurs grow, or unlock the potential within them, or if they've been stuck. I mean, quite often people come to coaches when they're stuck, and that can be in any area.
Yeah.
It's not business. They think it's business, so they might be stuck in business, but usually it's another reason that they're stuck. And once you delve down deep enough, you figure out and you get down to the real reason, and you release that. That's when they can start running their business.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So did you find the coaching rewarding? I'd imagine there's a sense of reward and a sort of someone saying thank you.
Extraordinary rewarding. It's amazing to see somebody change and blossom, and actually just everyone has it in them. It's just buried, usually by traumas, by everything. Everything goes back to childhood, about limiting self-beliefs. And all the noise that your mind creates, your negative thoughts that are stopping or preventing you doing stuff that you're meant to really be doing. So unblocking that and releasing that from somebody, or helping them facilitate that, is fucking amazing, quite frankly. And yes, I absolutely, it's rewarding. And anyone that says differently is not a true coach. It's
so do you still do that now? So we're going to talk about your show in a minute, but do you still executive coach?
I can take on clients. I'm not focused on at the moment because I've got a number of things going on at the moment, which is mainly my show, and I've also become leader of the largest UK personal growth community. So those are the two areas that are taking up most of my time.
Okay, so let's get on to the Sonya Morton-Firth show. So what was the inspiration? I remember we talked about this, it must be 4 or 5 months ago, and you were just about to start it. So what was the inspiration behind doing the show?
As I say, doing the breakthrough experience in South Africa with John DeMartini, he does it all over the world. He does it, in fact, he's coming to London in February. He's got dates in February. He really taps into your values. Now, when I say values, these are not values that most people come out with, like trustworthiness or integrity or bullshit social norms that I call it. These are your values, and we've all got very different values. And these are the values that you don't need motivation to do something. You just intrinsically do it because it's part of who you are. You do not need inspiration or motivation to do these things, you
Yep.
automatically do them. So for example, I go to the gym and I don't need motivation to do it. It's just part of who I am. But a lot of people do need motivation to do it. In the same way, a lot of people will read books because they absolutely love books. Some women, it's their children. They want to be a mother, and being a mother is what they really want to do. So what I'm saying is everyone has got different values, and he's got what he calls his value determination process, which is basically a series of 13 questions. And you answer these bizarre questions thinking, God, where is this leading? But actually, when you get to the results and you have that aha moment of, that's really me. And if you've answered them truthfully, because you've really got to delve deep and be true to yourself, it really gives you a picture of what you should be doing.
And so your after you did that, you thought so YouTube channel was
it doesn't spit out an answer like
this. No. I'm saying after you reflect on it and you come to it.
It shows you what value. It shows you what you need in your business, in your career, in your work that meet your values. And people connections were one of my strongest values, and of course, meeting people every day and talking to them. That was, as part of my show and a very big part of the show. But it wasn't. I mean, it wasn't just that. I spent last year. I'd been through a bit of a bad time. As I said, split up with a relationship. I just left my job. I just moved house after 20 years and arrived where the builders had completely demolished my home. It was awful. I took the builder to court. Blah blah blah. And anyway, I arrived in Richmond, where I now live. And Richmond Park is literally on my doorstep. And I don't know if you remember, Mark, the beautiful summer we had last year.
Yes, I still vaguely remember it.
And that really saved me. I spent a lot of time in Richmond Park, and I've got to say it was magical. I really turned to meditation and visualization. So I used to sit, there's a few benches there, and just literally meditate, and these visions came to me. And people will say this sounds woo-woo, but I'd done this values work. And these visions were coming to me, and I could see a stage, and I could just see myself sitting on a sofa talking to people. And it was even on my vision board from years ago. I always knew that, I talked to my mum now, and she went, I always knew you'd be a great presenter and interviewer. It's what you should have always done. Why didn't you tell me that at the time?
Yeah, exactly. Why didn't you tell me that a little while ago? Yeah, go on.
But it was, and it's got to a point where it brought tears of joy to me, because I could feel it in my heart. I could feel this is what I truly was meant to be doing. And when you feel that depth and that emotion, and you have to clear a lot of shit before you go there.
Yeah.
You can't be full of stress or an anxiety. You've got to really be calm, peaceful. And that doesn't come overnight. As I said, I spent the summer in Richmond Park, and it was going there, and it was spending a lot of time with myself and really figuring out who I am. A lot of the coaching course helped around that, because of course you explore who you are as well as being a coach. And I've got to thank that course. It was amazing. And I remember the title of my essay was, who are you? And it sounds funny. Well, who are you? And people say, well, who are you? But how do you answer that question?
Yeah.
And it really did bring me back to who am I? Who is Sonya Morton-Firth? And as I say, this show came out of that, came out of visualization, came out of meditation, came out of a coaching course, came out of working with John DeMartini. But most of all, it came from my heart.
Right. So tell me a little bit about it then. Who have you interviewed, or just give us a quick sort of plug for it.
Okay, so it's called The Sonya Morton-Firth Show, original. And I interview inspirational people that live outside the box, mavericks, game changers, entrepreneurs, people that do not lead a normal 9-to-5 life,
right.
People that have a message, people that have either come out of situations of adversity, or people that really have got a message to tell people. these people have done something with their lives, or they're doing something, and they have a message to get out there. And my whole premise of the show is I'm shining a big torchlight on their message. And I want them to have this big microphone and shout it from the highest sky.
Yep.
So this is what my show's all about. So I've interviewed everybody from Tony Robbins coaches that I know very well, to people that have gone through wars, veterans, people that have nearly died, somebody with AIDS that was given 2 weeks to live, a lady a single mum that's fighting for the seas to save our marine life. Gosh, I mean, it's been very famous DJs, Brandon Block, that has lived a life of drugs and all the rest of it, and has completely turned his life around, and now teaches positive mindset and helps others, with their situations, and bringing them out of difficult situations and negative mindset.
Okay, so we'll put in the show notes a couple of links so people can find you as well. So you mentioned also that you're part of the Yes Group worldwide. Just tell me a little bit about that, because that's your other priority, is it?
So I'm the leader of the Yes Group London. So the Yes Group, which is a bit of a funny name, the Yes Group, what's that all about, was an organisation, a community set up 26 years ago by a guy called Carl Pearsall, that had gone to his first Tony Robbins event, the UPW that I was talking about. But this was 26 years ago, where personal growth wasn't like it is today. And he was so impressed, and he loved it so much, that he started this small community from his living room. And that community grew, and it grew over the years, to the point, at one point they had 600 in the room, not in the room, in a massive hall.
Right.
And now we're at what it is today, and we meet every last Wednesday of the month. At the moment, we meet in the Holiday Inn in Russell Square, and we usually have 2 speakers on stage that are there to inspire, motivate, and give value to our audience. And our audience are people that are members, or you can come just for one night and just pay on the night. Yep. And you're really getting value. But it's not just about coming to listen to the speaker, but it's also about the people you meet. And this is the whole thing with this is, they say you are the average of the 5 people that you spend your life with. Yep. And this is a community that really uplifts you. So if you think majority of people spend their time either in toxic environments, such as the corporate world, where let's face it, it's not the most positive and uplifting, or they're surrounded by families that are quite draining or negative people. So this is a place you can really share your goals, your dreams, and no one, absolutely no one in that room is going to say the words "you can't," because you can, and we will help you as a community get to the goals and the dreams that you have. And we've got a various number of joint venture partners where we offer various different days. We offer NLP training, we offer stage speaking training. We've now got John DeMartini, but it all came off the back of Tony Robbins. So a lot of this is, is a lot of things Robbins says as well.
That's very interesting. So also, if you want to send me some links about that as well, I'm happy to put that in the show notes as well.
You should come along.
I should, yes.
It's actually Wednesday the 27th is the next event, Wednesday the 27th. We've got a great speaker, JP de Villiers. He's one of the world's most renowned coaches, and he's just had an awful experience, a near-death experience, and he's going to be talking about his coaching and how he overcame that. So he's going to be doing a talk. I'm going to be interviewing him on stage as well. So
okay, well, I'll look it up. If I'm available, I would love to come along. It sounds a very inspiring place to be. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the interview. I've got a couple of quick fire questions. Now, they don't necessarily need quick fire answers, but they're sort of quick fire questions. So there's a few of them. So what was the best decision that you made in your career life?
To leave corporate world.
Quick question, quick answer. No,
can you repeat the question? I think that was the answer, though.
Your best decision that you made in your life.
Oh, ever in my life?
Well, it could be your career, it could be life, depends on what you want to share.
I've got a few, but leaving corporate life was one of them, and another one was investing in property.
Right. Okay, what's the best piece of advice you've been given?
Invest in property.
Right.
And ignore your head and come from your heart.
Oh, that's very important. I had an interview with Mark Crowley, who talks about having heart in business, and
Yes, absolutely.
And I think it's so important. So many people are driven by their head and the bottom line or whatever. But yeah, 100%.
Doesn't work. And that's why I came out of my business the first time. I was driven by my head. And if it doesn't come from the heart, if you're not truly aligned with your business, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Okay. Who's the person that's helped you most in your career?
Me.
It could be a colleague, it could be a friend, it could be you.
Me.
And just expand on that a little bit.
Well, I could say my bosses, but in the end of the day, I've had so many different bosses. But in the end of the day, it all comes down to you and the decisions you make. And there's only one place the buck stops, and that's right here.
Yeah.
Yes, me.
Okay. Slightly controversial one. Any regrets that you've had in your career?
No.
Perfect. And what is the thing that you're most proud of?
I'm proud of a lot of things. I'm actually proud of a lot of things. Where I am today, I'm the most proud of where I am today. So it's not looking back on what, I'm a successful businesswoman, have a multi-million-pound property portfolio, being on stage with the physique on the O2. None of those things. Where I am today. And that's living a life of purpose and in true alignment with what I'm meant to be doing.
Perfect. So where can people find you?
They can find me on YouTube, The Sonya Morton-Firth Show. Please subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. I have loads of viewers, but it's clicking that subscribe button that's most important for me. I've also got a Facebook page, again, The Sonya Morton-Firth Show. And Instagram as well, The Sonya Morton-Firth Show.
Okay, so we'll put all links. So if you can send them over to me, I'll put them on the show notes so people can find you. Thank you, Sonya. That has been a fantastic delve into your career and your businesses.
Thank you, Mark. It's been such a pleasure being on your show and also being on the other end of the interview.
Yeah, how does it feel actually being asked questions rather than asking?
Well, it's weird because you end up doing all the talking, and of course, as the interviewer, you're sitting there listening, which is what we're meant to be doing. So it's quite funny doing this.
Okay, well, thank you, Sonya. Thank you so much for your time. Show notes, I'll put all the details in that you've talked about today, and people can find you. So thank you very much, guys, for listening and watching on YouTube and the podcast. I really appreciate it. You can find me on various places, YouTube, my podcast, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think I'm on basically everything, and LinkedIn. So if you want to find me, then do find me in those places. Thank you, Sonya, and I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye.